let's watch. This is the media getting everything completely wrong, and I'm here for it.
I think some of the ways that he explained this might be veering towards fiction and quite speculative on his part. Some of what he was saying, particularly in terms of a deal being made with Mark Carney and Mark Carney no longer wanting the job, that is not something that lines up with reporting done by professional journalists to date.
No. That's the CBC getting everything wrong, because we have this. This is Mercedes Stephenson, who's actually a pretty good journalist most of the time. CBC's Janice McGregor, whose real crime is how she spells her name, Janice. Mercedes Stephenson completely debunks this. Senior government sources do not deny that Chrystia Freeland was told that Mark Carney was going to become finance minister, and she was being moved out of the role after she delivered the disastrous mini budget. Perspective from the prime minister, those sources say, was that Freeland was being offered a key position, sure, to deal with Trump, who hates her, versus the loss of confidence she mentions in her letter. Deputy prime minister and finance, however, are the top jobs in the cabinet. So, as it would turn out, the mainstream media got this one completely wrong. They said, no, Carney wasn't offered the job, but it seems as though he was. And then him and Freeland sort of outmaneuvered Trudeau.
That's exactly what it looked that it looks like happened in this case. Because, and let's not forget, she didn't go through official channels to announce her resignation. She didn't go through official channels. She released it direct to Twitter. She got ahead of all of the spin, which leads me to believe that she wants to control the narrative. And so because she knew that if the prime minister had a chance, he would spin it his way and not in her favor. Like, it looks like he's being outgunned by two people who are tired of cleaning up the messes and the issues that he puts them in. But make no mistake, these people would be infinitely even more dangerous for Canada than even Justin Trudeau. These are people that are wholly committed to the World Economic Forum, to doing the bidding of Klaus Schwab. We think Justin Trudeau was a nightmare. Wait until Klaus Schwab is making the direction down through Chrystia Freeland. They should not be forgiven for the destruction that they have caused to this country. Freeland, not Carney, not Jolie, not Anita Anand, not any of the people that are considering running for the leadership of the Liberal Party, and nor for the NDP that keep them in their leadership.
Yeah, let's never forget that Mark Carney, not only is he deeply involved with the World Economic Forum, but part of his job at the United Nations is de-insuring and definancing oil and gas projects. So instead of direct cancellation, what they do is they actively work to make sure that oil and gas projects, these massive multi-billion-dollar projects that employ thousands of Canadians with a well-paying salary, it's his job at the United Nations to make sure that those companies never get the financing and backing that they need. So he would be a nightmare for our recovering economies here in the West.
The absolute worst. And make no mistake, he has got a network that rivals no other in the country of Canada. As a matter of fact, he's probably the most dangerous man to Canadian sovereignty and to Canadian prosperity that we have ever seen. Mark Carney is not a good man for Canada, and it would be a disaster if they got anywhere close to the PMO. So beware, Canada, beware. We got the fight is not over. The fight is not over. They are going to rebrand. They're going to get rid of Trudeau. I believe that they're going to get rid of Trudeau as leader. They're going to rebrand, and they're going to come in with a whole new list of promises for us. And we must not believe them. We know the way they work, and we know the damage that they can do.
We have to remember that they were completely silent while Justin Trudeau enabled him.
Yes.
While he inflicted all this, as Pierre Poilievre calls it, economic vandalism on the country. Pierre Poilievre clip coming up next. He slaps down the CBC like nobody else.
So with CBC News. And Mr. Polyev, if you could also answer this question in French as well as English.
Of
The
course.
government is coming out with a $1.3 billion plan to address border security. Do you think that's enough to stop Trump's tariffs? And if it was up to you, how much specifically would you spend on border security? What number would you put on it?
Well, you ask a classically CBC question, which is how much money can you spend on a problem? Well, that's the wrong question. That's exactly the question Trudeau has been asking for 9 years. It's the reason he's doubled our debt while making everything worse. For example, he spent $80 billion on housing affordability. Well, how'd that work? He doubled housing costs. He spent $60 million on his gun confiscation. 0 guns. He spent millions on a school food program that hasn't served a single solitary meal. So we should not judge a program based on how expensive we can make it. We should judge it by what it can do. How many helicopters? How many drones? How many boots on the ground? That's the question I will be asking when I'm prime minister. And how do we deliver it for the lowest possible price to taxpayers? Wouldn't it be nice if we had a prime minister who said, we secured the borders, we put more boots on the ground, we stopped tons and tons of fentanyl from traveling back and forth, we arrested the terrorists, we shut down the organized crime, we reduced gun crime, and by the way, we did it with less tax dollars. That's how our mentality has to change. We have to stop judging politicians by how expensive they can make things and start judging them by the results they get. You went into a restaurant and had a terrible experience. The food was awful. You got food poisoning. The service was bad. You wouldn't walk out and say, but it was great because it cost me $1,000. And because it's the most expensive restaurant around, it must be the best. No, we judge the meal by the food on the plate and the service that delivered it. That's how I'm going to run a common sense conservative government. Next question.
Nobody communicates common sense quite like he does.
Just like that. Just like that. The measure of the success of a program isn't how much we're investing in it. It's what it can do for the people of Canada and how little we can spend for the taxpayers of Canada. It's brilliant.
Let's go into, I got a couple of clips of Arif Virani being a bit of a nut job over the last couple of days. These clips actually just came out this morning, so I'm watching them cold, just like you're watching them cold.
Okay.
Let's see what he has to say. He's, of course, our justice minister is imposing intense censorship on the country.
People across the country should reflect on why they are liberals, what kind of vision they have for this country, but also reflect, frankly, on whom would purport to replace us as government. And what motivates me and motivates every single liberal, no matter whom you're talking to right now, is that we're all unified behind the idea that a change of government with that individual named Polyev proposing to replace us would not benefit my riding, would not benefit this city, would not benefit this country. I would just take this opportunity to encourage you to reflect on how this law transpired in terms of its development in the parliamentary process. At one point, this was being reported back by the Justice Committee with Conservative proposals to gut the entire bill. That's apparently the reflection on prioritizing wrongfully convicted people in this country. That to me is morally bankrupt. That's not the kind of government I want to see. That's not the kind of treatment I want to see for the wrongfully convicted. That's what motivates me to continue to do this work.
I've got a real tough time with Mr. I'm going to put you in jail for life for saying mean things on the internet, worrying about the wrongfully accused, as if that's the real problem with the justice system in Canada right now, that there are too many wrongfully accused. Now, look, of course, the wrongfully accused behind bars, that's a bad thing, but that's a problem across every single justice system in the entire world. Canada's got a revolving door of bail where these horrible people are out on bail, they're committing crimes while they're on bail and then getting bail again the very same day. That's the problem. And he doesn't get that he's the problem.
I have a real hard time listening to Arif Virani, who just appointed hundreds, Sheila, hundreds of liberal donors as judges
Yeah.
across the country of Canada. This guy takes to the internet and pats himself, throws his shoulder out, patting himself on the back for appointing liberal donors as judges across the country when our justice system is an unmitigated disaster. When you have guys like the Coots boys being thrown in jail for 6.5 years, and men
Right.
who killed families on freeways out in 3.5 months or whatever it is, when you have murderers and rapists and terrorists walking the streets of Canada, and you have freedom protesters being threatened with 10 years of
Right.
incarceration. I have a real hard time listening to foreign-born Arif Virani talking to us about what he wants for Canada. I am so tired of these entitled rat bastards who have done nothing but destroy our country, telling us what they think that what would be best for them. Get the hell out of my face, Arif Virani. Nobody has been a bigger disaster than you.
Just the gall of this guy. I wish he treated rapists, murderers, child abusers, human traffickers, sex offenders, drug traffickers, the people who
Mhm.
bring the poisons into our communities that kill our children. I wish he treated them with the same disdain as he treats his critics on the internet.
That's exactly right. That is exactly right. No, this is not a man who is serious. This is a man who is doing the bidding of a tyrant. And the tyrant, of course, is Justin Trudeau. But this is just another wheel. Reef Virani is just another cog in the wheel of Justin Trudeau's out of control wagon. I mean,
Yeah.
he deserves to lose his seat and handily, and man, do I hope he does.
All of these people need to wander in the wilderness for 10 good years.
For 40 good years.
Thank
I'm
you.
not I'm not even I'm saying we need to smoke them for a generation to get them out. Not only that, I was talking to a really, really well connected political operative in the last couple weeks, and one of the things that we were talking about is the foreign interference commission report that's coming out. Isn't that coming out at the end of January?
Yeah, I just
Um,
saw, by the way, I just saw the committee report that was released. So the committee was sort of making a report simultaneously as the commission. And the committee
what did it
report,
say?
their recommendations, I think the recommendation 17 and 18 is to standardize the ability to freeze your bank account instead of just doing it willy nilly based on hacked information, and more oversight for crowdfunding because it
Oh,
might be used by terrorists, but they're calling everybody terrorists. So those are the reports, just the crackdown on free speech and making it easier for them to just make sure that you bounce your mortgage and your car payment and can't feed your kids because you are a little bit too dissident in your politics.
that sounds about right. That sounds about
Yeah.
par for the course for this government. I guess the point that this political operative made was, depending on what we find with that foreign interference report that's going to come out, that's going to shed a lot of light over who's been influencing our government over these last several years. If that government formed government because of the actions of bad actors that aren't from here, it could be argued that every appointment, every law, every policy, every procedure, every standard of operation that's been done since the time of a stolen election could get repealed. And I think that that's where we're at in Canada, because we've got a justice system that's broken, a healthcare system that's corrupt. Our education systems in every province are burning on fire because of
Yeah.
federal interference. We've got crime out of control. We've got homelessness out of control. We've got immigration out of control. Like there is so much broken that this is why we're seeing Canadians looking across the border at Trump saying, "Come liberate us." Like it
Yeah.
is so huge that barring an invasion from the United States, it almost feels hopeless. But if you think about it, if we could just rewind back to 2019 or rewind back to 2015 and undo all of these crazy, crazy laws and policies that have been put into place by the Trudeau government and all of the lackeys that work for it, we'd be in a lot better position because the government should not be able to tell Canadians what give, send, goes we should be able to
Right.
contribute to. They should not be able to tell us what movements we should or should not be able to support. And we've seen through these last several years of persecution of regular Canadian people just how I mean just how much the government hates us. And this is just another example, like the examples you just gave is just another example of how much they hate us and how threatened they are by the Canadian people making decisions on their own behalf.